Welcome to For the Record. I'm Shannon Perrine. The May 20th primary election is fast approaching, and one of the big races is the Democratic primary in Pittsburgh's mayoral race. Incumbent Mayor Ed Gainey facing off against Allegheny County Controller Corey O'Connor. And this morning, we speak with both men to get their take on the issues. Let's begin with Mayor Gainey. For viewers who don't really know your political service, your public service origin story, how did you come to public service? How did you first decide to run for office? What was that spark?
Yeah, so growing up, I never met a politician. I never had the opportunity as a child to ever encounter a politician. Like, I never had one come to my neighborhood. I never had one come to my school. So growing up, I never met a politician. I didn't meet my first politician until I went to college. I went to Morgan State University. The first day I was there, the professor asked me what I was doing in class. And I was like, well, you teaching, right? She was like, that. My lesson wasn't with the class. My lesson wasn't in the classroom. It was with my classmates. And so we marched all the way down to City Hall because they were trying to defund the historical black college and university.
Is this in Baltimore?
This is in Baltimore. So they were trying to defund it. And so we had did sit-ins, we had did protests, we had shut down the campus. And we ended up marching all the way to City Hall. And the first elected official that I got to see from afar and how he helped us save Morgan State and make sure that we wasn't defunded was a gentleman by the name of Mayor Kurt Smoke, as well as a councilman at the time named Kwasi Mfume. They were both two people that helped us keep Morgan State Historical Black College and make sure that we didn't get defunded. So when I came home, my eyes was open to community development and how I could better serve my community. So I started working for an organization called East Liberty Development, Inc. that had been shut down due to racial tensions and we're gonna open back up. And when they opened back up, the gentleman that was running it was named Wheeler Winstead. So I went to Wheeler and I said, you know, I'll be willing to work for free because I know y'all don't have any funding right now, but my reward or my pay has to be that you teach me community development. You teach me about community development, how to deal with the businesses, how to deal with the residents, the overall value of being in community development. And then if you like the work that I do and you get some funding, pay me.
There you go.
You know, and that's how I got started. Then I went to go work for a state representative, and then from a state representative, I ended up going to work for two mayors. I worked for Mayor Tom Murphy and Mayor Luke Ravenstahl, learning a lot in the mayor's office. And then from there, I ran for state representative. After 8 years at the state house, I ran for mayor.
Let's talk about the message you want to send to our viewers, your potential voters out there, about how you see Pittsburgh police doing their job effectively. You know, how has that changed for you over the years?
I'm very proud of what the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police has been able to accomplish in this city. I think there's no doubt about it. They've done a phenomenal job. When we talk about when I first came in office, we had 71 homicides. One homicide is too many. I know, you know, a lot of moms, you know, that have lost loved ones, including my father. My father lost my sister in 2016 to a homicide. Lady named Val Dixon that I was really a friend of lost her son. Deborah Germany, another one that lost her son. So I know the power and the impact that homicides has on not only the family, but also the community. And so coming in the office and at the state level, you know, I work with organizations like Ceasefire to try to get gun legislation passed, as well as Moms Demand Action, Squirrel Hill Coalition Against Guns. So I've always been an advocate for ensuring that what we're doing is helping society as a whole, particularly in communities. So when I talk about the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police and how proud I am, listen, I came in with 71 homicides. We are down, like I said, one homicide is too many, but we are down 33% when we talk about homicides in the city. Every year that I've been in office, we've been able to reduce homicides. Gun violence in the city is down 45%. Those are incredible statistics. We moved into a community-oriented policing program where the police got to know the community, got out and known, you know, neighborhood leaders, community leaders, beginning to talk to them. And that trust has given us the ability, in my opinion, to be able to reduce some of the homicides in the city and also be able to get tips about homicides that happen. That has been an impact in us making sure that we make the arrest that's necessary. I'm very proud of that. And then the other thing I'm proud of is that, you know, we were able to give the police a contract, something they haven't had in over 20 years, a contract where it was a pay increase. We got a disciplinary matrix in the collective bargaining agreement. So those are the things that make a great police force. And I'm very proud of what they've done. There was a shooting every weekend when we came in on Carson Street. You don't hear about all those shootings no more on Carson Street. Downtown, they've done an incredible job of making sure that downtown is safer than it was when I came in the office. So when you look at those numbers, 33% reduction in homicides, 45% reduction in gun violence, that is the overall view of the quality of health for making this a safe city.
How challenging has it been to get a police chief consistently in that office? We've seen what's happened. It's been tough. And what impact does that have on public safety in the city, and really on the citizens when there isn't a consistent police chief, a public face of that department to be the leader?
You know, I think you hit the nail right on the head when you talk about the citizens. When I'm in these neighborhoods, they're not asking me who the chief of police is. When I'm in these neighborhoods, they want to know about public safety, how's the homicides. They want to make sure that they feel safe. They want to know about the gun violence, particularly in these communities where they've experienced a lot of gun violence. They want to know what is the plan in order to ensure that we are protecting the citizens of the city. So when I start talking about the community policing, and they from the community are telling me how fortunate they is to have a relationship with the commander, and how the commanders come into community meetings and also other meetings, the commander himself at all these meetings throughout the community. That's what they want to hear about. They want to hear about how are you keeping this city safe? And when we talk about the reduction in homicides, the reduction in gun violence, that is what keeps the city safe, and that's what they want to hear. So we focus on that all the time, of making sure that we're doing what's necessary to keep this city safe.
Do you regret recommending Chief Scirotto to be chief?
No, I don't. I think Chief Scirotto was great. You know, one of the main reasons why I didn't come out and talk about the Chief Scirotto case is because when I took over as mayor, the morale in the police force was very low. And part of that was because, you know, they were being disciplined in public. And I don't think that's how you create a situation where you grow the morale of your city employees. What I promised them in DPW is that I would never say nothing publicly in regards to any issues that we may have. Chief Scirotto was a great one. His partner had a virtual job here. The virtual job was canceled. He went back to Houston. He went back to Texas, and Chief Scirotto wanted to go with him. That's the bottom line there. Is it unfortunate? Yeah, but I'm married and I understand that as well.
Why do you want to be mayor for another 4 years?
Because I want to finish what we started. It's important. We know how many housing units we lost. We want to reverse that trend. We want people to be able to live in this city. And in order to do that, we have to build affordable units. We have to continue that momentum of building affordability. We want to make this the safest city in America. Not only what we've done to get here, but other things that we need to implement to ensure that we're continuing to make this the safest city in America. I told you before, when we're out here in these neighborhoods talking to people, they want to know about how we're going to keep them safe. And when we talk about the reduction in homicide and gun violence, particularly gun violence, as much as we've been talking about it for over, 20 years, 30 years? That means something. We want to continue to make sure that this is the safest city, and also making a city where everybody feels welcome. Where everybody feels welcome. This is the first time in the history of this city. This is the first time in the history of this city where you have 3 African-American prime contractors on major construction jobs. Where in other cities, that's a normal thing. We're diversifying this city, whether it's with population, contracts, the whole nine, to give everybody an opportunity to understand that you can make it here. You don't have to leave. I've been in this city my whole life. I understand how they feel. But we don't have to be that way. We don't have to go backwards. We can continue the progress of moving forward and make sure we have a city where everybody feels they belong.
I want to go back to your origin story and what this means for you personally. Because you're the mayor, you're also a human being. Mm-hmm. Who helps you the most? Who is your best friend?
My wife. Yeah, it's my wife, because you have to deal with me every night when I come home. And being mayor of this city, there's a lot of obligation and responsibility. being the first African American of this city comes with a higher scrutiny. It comes with stereotypes. And I try not to feed into any of that. What I try to do is find out how I can serve the people of this community, of this city, to the best of my ability.
Still ahead on For the Record. Now that you've heard from incumbent Mayor Ed Gainey, I'll sit down with his challenger in Pittsburgh's Democratic mayoral primary, Corey O'Connor. For the Record continues in just 2 minutes with my sit down with Democratic Pittsburgh mayoral candidate Corey O'Connor. And a reminder, WTAE hosted a debate between O'Connor and incumbent Mayor Ed Gainey here in our studios last month. You can re-watch that debate now at WTAE.com and the WTAE app. For the Record returns right after this. Welcome back to For the Record as we hear from the candidates in Pittsburgh's upcoming Democratic mayoral primary. Earlier this half hour, I sat down with incumbent Mayor Ed Gainey. Now, my interview with his challenger, Allegheny County Controller Corey O'Connor. Well, let's start about the you part. For those of our viewers who don't know your origin story, say, how did you find yourself running for mayor of City of Pittsburgh? How did you get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, obviously grew up in Pittsburgh, raising my family here, spent 11 years on city council, last 3 years as county controller. And I just look around the city and I think this is a prime example of a city that's managing a decline instead of talking about growth and opportunity. And we see it all around us. And I think, given my background, given my passion for the city, I think this is a great opportunity to come in and lead us in a different direction and get us back on track about talking about growth, about Pittsburgh being on the national stage again for companies, for expanding housing, and I just don't see that right now.
Most people know that your father was the mayor of the City of Pittsburgh and they know your family's story, but in this moment, how often are you thinking about him and the work he did as mayor and really his life?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody thinks about their parents each and every day, and it's different for all of us. I think, these things remind me of his campaigns, but, it also reminds me of my mom coming to a lot of events and being present. And, I think growing up in the political world and for at least the later part of my dad's life, it's something unique that I've seen it as a candidate, now as a parent, and before I saw it as a kid. So, it really shapes how I want my daily activities to go. And I think that's something that gives me additional experience to make sure that, family does come first at the end of all of this stuff. And, spending time, we had my kid's birthday the other day, and it's fun to have those times because right now it's go, go, go. And if elected, it'll be the same way. But I think coming from my background, it gives me the ability to make sure that we have family time first, and that's most important.
How much of a priority will be getting a police chief in place who wants to be there for more than a few years in the City of Pittsburgh? And why is that important? Yeah,
it's the number one priority. It should be your number one hire. We are on Police Chief 5 in 3.5 years. And most of them have been acting. We know the last one was part-time because he was working basketball games. So, for me, that's not leadership. And it puts our lives at risk. It puts our officers' lives at risk. Right now, the morale is at an all-time low in the police force.
How does that put lives at risk?
Well, if you're an officer and you don't know whether you're working 8 hours, 12 hours, 10 hours, where am I going? Where am I being deployed? We're not using data to actually deploy our officers. So if I'm an officer and I went for an 8-hour shift And then all of a sudden, we were not coordinating because we have no leader at the top. We're not coordinating our daily routines. Now I'm being forced to do forced overtime. And on forced overtime, even in the current budget, the first quarter of the year, they've exceeded overtime for police as well as public works. So now how are you even going to make your payroll by the end of the year? You're not. We know this is all phantom budget for an election year, but the chief of police sets the morale, sets the tone. It would help with retaining officers as well as recruiting officers, that there's leadership that they can go to if they have questions, and right now there's none.
I would also say that a police chief is beyond the mayor and members of city council for the people who live and work and travel through Pittsburgh. They are a bit of the face of the city. But I want to push on the overtime issue. And is it fair to say it would have been hard for any mayor to fill those slots that are open after what we saw happen in 2020, to make sure that there were enough patrol officers on the job, trained and ready to go? Every city, every tiny borough had a challenge of retaining and hiring police officers. How would you get that right? And there are two questions in there.
Yeah.
Is it fair that I mean, there are going to be overtime issues right now, just because of the lack of people on patrol.
So the overtime issue, the reason why it's incorrect right now is because you didn't budget for it. You budgeted for a little bit so you could get through a mayor primary. We all know that. Look at the numbers. You can't finish your payroll this year because overtime, not only in public works, but especially in public safety, is already exceeded. So how are you going to fill your gap? And what the other side is going to say, well, we have a $4 million surplus. Well, no, you don't. You already tapped into your reserves to get the $4 million surplus. And based on their calculations, they were projecting a $28 million surplus this year. How'd you only end up with 4? Where does the other $24 million going? It's because they're not being transparent with our actual budget, what the needs are. Why are they not partnering with our nonprofits to get money that's spent on our capital so we could save tax revenue? There's none of that happening right now. And when you talk about recruiting, it comes from the top. If you don't have any direction, we saw last year was almost 100 officers retired, took early retirements. That means they don't want to stay for the chaos because there is no leadership or direction right now. And how do you recruit a new young officer if he or she is not getting any direction on their daily routines? It's frustrating.
I do talk to city police officers, and I've covered city police and the city for a long time, and I saw how they reacted to chiefs of the past. Even one of the chiefs who was indicted, and they loved it. By and large, they responded to Chief Schubert as well. How do you find that kind of person who holds them dear and holds Pittsburgh dear?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have somebody that's committed. If I were to pick a chief, he or she, I'm not going to do a national search and waste taxpayers' money. You want somebody that knows Pittsburgh. Maybe they're already in our force. Maybe they left and want to come back. But I'm not going to spend taxpayer money on a national search. And I think that's the difference. Day one, my experience, I'm ready to go. And I think we can't, afford a lack of leadership in the mayor's office anymore, especially when it comes to the chief. Pick somebody, stick to your guns, and move forward, because it will only help the morale of the officers and help to recruit more.
Personal question, who is your best friend?
Who is my best friend?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say my wife, clearly, yes. Right. Does my wife count, or do you need somebody outside of that?
I want to know, the reason I asked that question is because I want to know, and it can be more than one person, who do you turn to when you have really good news or really bad news, and who do you turn to for advice when you really need it?
I have a number of people that I call throughout the day, but obviously my wife's one for good news, bad news, and advice each and every day. But I think, depending on the situation, I have a lot of friends that either have been in government, left government, or just sitting at home watching TV, and they'll just pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I got this advice, I got this solution, what do you think of this idea? And I think that's what I love about these jobs, is you could go out, you talk to people all across the city of Pittsburgh. My wife will tell you that way too many people have my cell phone, and I get texts and calls all the time, but that's what I'm all about. I think you learn more from talking to people all across Pittsburgh, and not just sitting behind a desk in the mayor's office. You go to restaurants, you go to shops. I actually, the fun part about being the county controller is we found so many dive restaurants all across Pittsburgh that are unique to each and every neighborhood and community throughout the county. And I think that's where you really get the sense of how your community's doing. What do you need? You know, the NFL draft is coming next year. I don't really want to sit in a back room and with all the executives. That's not for me. I want to walk around the crowd and say to somebody who came in from Cleveland, because we know they're going to have one of the top few picks like they always do, and say, you know, what do you like about Pittsburgh? What don't you like about Pittsburgh? That should be our job as mayor. Our job should be out in front talking to people. If a pothole question or somebody didn't get a pothole filled hits my cell phone, that means somebody in the administration has missed the boat, and you have to talk to make sure that person's doing their job. But I think I take advice from anybody, and you have to be a people person. This is a people-friendly job, and I actually remember it was my dad's slogan, but I took it because put it on my desk, and it's the #1 priority are the people of Pittsburgh. That's how you learn whether you're doing a good job or not.
Why do you want to be mayor?
Oh, I think the excitement that I have to rebuild our city, you know, to get it back on the right track. I think Pittsburgh has the great bones and structures to have another revitalization in all neighborhoods, in all communities. We just need somebody with the direction and the ability to do it day one, and I think I bring that experience to the table. I think I will surround myself with a small staff that knows the city inside and out so that they can get to work quickly to start helping each and every resident of Pittsburgh rebuild and get back on the right track. And I'm excited to have a conversation about growth and opportunity because we have it all right at our disposal. We're just not using it properly right now.
You're watching For the Record. We're back right after this. Welcome back to For the Record. Now, if you have a topic you'd like us to address, send us an email to news@WTAE.com. You can also rewatch this episode or any episode with the very local app on your smartphone, your tablet, or your smart TV. Thank you for joining us and have a great week.